In this question, we want to analyze changes in level of K in our Solow model with no population or labor growth and no technological progress. So we're told that starting in the steady state, suppose a neighboring country gives Maryland, the economy that we're looking at, a gift of new capital equipment. We want to use the Solow diagram to depict the effects of this on capital per worker over time and in the long run. So again, the assumption is it's starting at the steady state. So economy. So let's say economy begins in steady state. That's given to us. Economy begins in steady state. Right, so let's say it's point A with K is equal to K star and Y is equal to Y star. Okay, so steady state, is given in our in this basic Solow model, right? Steady state is given to us as steady state level of capital per worker occurs at the intersection of our depreciation per worker line and our investment per worker curve, right? So this is point A. And this is the steady state level of K. Right, so this is our steady state level of K. And then if you want to see the corresponding steady state value of output per worker, we'll use our per worker production function, y is equal to Fk, right? So this is y star. We just want to show where this is y star. So now what happens is, if we're given a gift of capital, so we're given a gift of capital, we're told. Capital would immediately jump. So capital would immediately jump up to a level such as K prime greater than K star. So we're given a gift of capital. So as a result of this, immediately we'll see that capital jumps to a higher level, such as, let's say here, K prime. Right, so we see that we have this movement, that you jump from K to K prime. Now at K prime, let's identify a couple of things, right? So this point is O. I'm going to label this, and if I extend this a bit, right, so let's label this as D and let's label this as I. So now let's see some things over here. Now we're at K prime, right? So we jump from K to K, from K star to K prime, right? Now at K prime, what we'll notice is that investment per worker, which is given to us as OI, is less than depreciation per worker, which is OD, right? This is what we see over here. We can see that the depreciation line, so we can see that the depreciation line is above the investment curve at K prime, right? We can see at K prime, we jump from K star to K prime, meaning given a gift of capital. Right, capital would immediately jump up to a level such as K prime, right? So now at K prime, you can see that investment per worker, which is OI, is less than depreciation per worker, which is OD, right? So change in capital per worker, which is basically, equal to investment per worker, which is OI, minus depreciation per worker, which is OD, is less than 0. Right, so change in capital per worker is 0, right? Basically, this is delta K less than 0, right? Because we can see K, OI is investment per worker, OD is depreciation per worker. And the difference between them is the negative amount of capital per worker. Since change in capital per worker is 0, thus over time, change in capital per worker is 0, thus over time, K decreases from K prime until it reaches back to the initial steady state, until it reaches back to the initial steady state K star. To the initial steady state K star, where investment per worker is equal to depreciation per worker. So what's going to happen is, we started off at K star. You're given a gift of capital equipment, which causes capital to immediately jump to a level such as K prime, which is greater than K star. At K prime, depreciation per worker exceeds investment per worker, so change in capital per worker is negative, right? Change in capital per worker, which we know is investment per worker minus depreciation per worker from our capital accumulation equation per worker terms. So since change in capital per worker is negative, so basically capital per worker is going to decrease until you go back to the initial steady state K star, right? So this is 2. So you go from K star to K prime, and then you eventually go back from K prime to K star. So the idea is this. So the effect of the gift will only be temporary as nothing happened to depreciation or investment. So let's just write it down, right? So we're seeing the gift of capital equipment is only temporary. So only it immediately causes you to jump to K prime, which is above K star, but eventually you will come back to K star, right? So the effect is only temporary because nothing has happened to investment or depreciation. So you go back to your initial steady state. So the idea is this. So the effect of the gift will only be temporary as nothing happened to investment or depreciation or investment, right?